Howdy everyone out there in Twitch land, I'm Mokog. Welcome to HexHunter, and today we're doing our now weekly awesomeness, the General's Tent with my good friend Function. I guess
Hey.
Function. He's down there now.
Oh, what's up?
I forgot our screen positions.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Actually, how many weeks in a row have we done this now? 3?
I think we're on 3, let's not jinx it.
Sadly, I think 3 is a new record.
We've got a lot of cool stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. Oh, I forgot to do a Twitter post. I will do that right now.
Twitter!
Tweet. But, yeah, I mean, things have been going pretty well. Tech's been a lot of fun. I don't know about you, but, I guess I would start off as, there's a lot of people on the forums that are kind of a little wishy-washy right now. Things could be going a little bit better, maybe, is a nice way to put it.
That would be the nice way to put it. I would say, the most polite way that I would put it is that there is a hungering desire to be able to progress more into the depths of Entrath.
Yeah.
I think that's really where all of this is coming in, is that a lot of people are really getting teased right now, and if you didn't have Kickstarter material, you couldn't dive, and it's really hard to dive deeper into the game right now. So all of the new players, they're getting and they're tasting the game, and they're essentially getting a hold of a starter, and they said, you're going to have a free-to-play experience, and we're like, but wait, it's going to be a few more weeks. And I'm like, but I want it now.
Yeah, well, I think the other, a pretty legitimate thing to say is we have been playing with the same game elements for quite a while now. It is time for some new stuff. I would like some new stuff. I think everybody would like some new stuff.
Well,
luckily, we have a patch coming out. But
oh yes, we got a super patch, and there was cool stuff spoiled today.
What I was starting off by even bringing this up in the first place is that, I've been kind of taking most of a break, maybe over July and August. I just wasn't playing a whole lot, and I probably mentioned that before on the General's Tent. But last weekend, I played a ton. I think I played at least a couple hours Saturday and a couple hours Sunday. I played a couple tournaments. I won 1 or 2 of them. I did pretty well for myself and just enjoyed playing
Very
again.
nice.
I also lost a couple of drafts round 1 where I thought that actually, I've noticed a trend in my drafting. Anytime I'm like, this is the deck, this is going to win the whole thing, that's always when I lose round 1.
I'll be honest, my draft records right now have been terrible. Yeah. Oh my god, terrible. But it's been the same thing. I think I've built a solid deck here, and then I get matched up with someone who had an answer for everything I put on the field and drew amazing both games, and I'm like, I know, but this deck wasn't bad, it was good. It had curve, it had removal, it had big creatures, I had combat tricks, but none of them were ever drawn in anything that ever provided me board advantage for longer than a half a turn.
Yeah,
and that's been my draft experience. But to make up for it, I have been teasing myself with a new deck design.
Yeah.
I've told you about it before, and I've done another version of it recently.
Well, I would have sworn, so I think I know where you're getting at this. I would have sworn you mentioned this deck on the General Stone before.
I mentioned the one that came before it. I have not mentioned what I've been working on. So, the deck that I've been working before, I called it, it's either a Grave Robber or a Grave Digging deck, where it tries to pull in using Shepherd to pull cards out of either your graveyard or your opponent's graveyard. And one of the big fun functions of that was actually Lixil, because you could go Immortal Lixil really easily, anywhere from turn 3 to turn 6, consistent on a game. It's like if you pull a Lixil, you're probably going to go a Invulnerable Lixil.
Alright, so not to interrupt you real quick, but do you actually have this deck?
I do, let's see it.
Why don't you play against the AA while we're talking?
Yes, I can. I will.
Pretty beautiful.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, fire up.
I am far too excited for this. So, now one of the things that I noticed that this deck was pretty decent at, and this is that Gravedigger was really decent at, was getting in any shards or any threshold it needed whenever it wanted. So, if you needed a specific threshold, it was generally 80% of the time got you where you wanted to be.
Nice.
So I'm like, alright, well, why not try something a little different? Why not pick something that's a little more difficult to pull off?
Yeah,
and we'll pull up the one of the guys here.
No, I was saying you're doing big things.
Oh yeah.
You're trying to pull off something bigger.
So actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and keep this hand. And so, to show it off right up here, as you can imagine, I decided to throw in some of the more combo-licious cards that we're happen to play some of the Hex creators with. I wanted to go Lixil Triumphant with Shepherd. Oh, it's
Nice.
so tasty.
I can dig it.
Tasty, tasty, tasty. So the biggest part that it can do is that it's very good at getting your first early thresholds. So if I wanted to, I could, I normally start off running this with a blood threshold, but I could have easily gone in here and grabbed a ruby threshold for it. It does suffer from, if it doesn't pull the right draws against aggro, it tends to stall out a little bit more. Just because aggro, if it puts on too much before it can get into where a mid-range deck could get. So if aggro is, you know, puts 17 damage on you by turn 4, you're probably not going to win, no matter what occurred. But that's what I've really liked about this deck, is that as soon as you force your opponent into mid-range, generally you're able to take control, and with only the rare examples being other control decks, and
Nice.
possibly mill.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it'd be fun. I don't know if it's going to be tier 1 for you, but it's fun. Like, playing fun decks is fun, so what are you going to do? But yeah, welcome to the show, Brimstone. We got a few people joining on their chat. I should say, on that note, because he was saying you got to log in, if there's any people kind of stalking or creeping over there and they're not logged in yet, we are going to be giving away a Jovial Pipit at some point towards the end of the show. And I think you're going to need to get, like, the shards. Mokog has little shards viewer currency going. So if you log in now, you'll probably have enough shards by the end of the show to do it. So, hey, you should get your Pipit.
Yes.
But what do we got for show notes? What do we...
Alright, so aside from me being super in love with the deck we've got going on here, so we've got a little bit of news. Colin's doing a giveaway, and we've got a lot more details about what we're going to be doing for our Hex Budget Challenge.
Yeah. You got ahead of yourself though. We got a patch coming out next week.
Yes. Oh my God! And the patches. So what, like we were just talking about earlier, one of the things that people have been very hesitant on dealing with has been when are we getting new content?
Yeah.
Oh well, they're updating the patcher right now.
Yeah, and what was it? Colin was even made a post himself in that thread. Let me bring it back up. Where was it? Patch incoming. Yeah, this one. I mean, he said himself is. I realize I tend to be pretty excited about most things in Hex, but the next patch is incredible, even more exciting than usual. So, I mean, hopefully there could be a number of awesome things that we're going to see, and at the very least, one thing that I think a lot of people didn't know was that they're changing over to this new version of Unity. It was kind of mentioned at Gen Con, and it's kind of been mentioned a little bit in these recent posts, but it hasn't really been elaborated on. And that's a pretty big thing. Like,
oh yeah, that is. It's actually super big.
What I would have liked to see is more communication about saying, hey, we're switching over to this new form of Unity, like letting everybody know in an update and being like, these are the awesome things it's going to enable. And I get on some level, it is nice to have that like wow surprise factor when you get a new patch and there was stuff you weren't expecting.
Terrible.
But I think it would also be nice to have a little bit more of, hey, this is what we're planning for you guys, and being able to look underneath the hood a little bit and kind of see what's going on. And you can do that without ruining that surprise factor I mentioned as well. So, you know, that'll be all right. But I want to see what we're going to get with this new Unity patch. I mean, I played at Gen Con and got to see some of it. The new UI is pretty cool. Like, it's a little flashier, nicer. The way the hand is arranged. You know, it's a culmination of a bunch of small things that add up to be like, oh, this is pretty nice. I can get used to this. But if the way Colin was saying is it's even more exciting than usual, that might mean it might include stuff other than just the new UI. Maybe we might get some trading. That would be pretty fancy if we got that. I don't know. Maybe we might actually see the arena in this one, as Colin pointed out in another. I mean, because he's like the unofficial news source in a lot of these. He pointed out another thread is anytime that they post an update about something, you usually see it pretty shortly thereafter, and they did post about the arena or the Frost Arena not too long ago, so we might see that in here. And if we did, I think that would make a lot of people's day. That would be absolutely amazing.
Alright, here's how I think they should tease the Frost Arena, because I got trounced with crazy air superiority nonsense here. What I'd like to see them do. Oh yeah, the AI, when it played a Mastery of Time, I'm like, well, crap. I needed one more turn. It stole my turn, damn it. But in any case, a really great way to showcase the new arena, like before you could technically go live on it, is that you can just have a little spot near the North Pole on the globe that you can zoom into and take a look around. I think if you could just get in there and look, it would be super sweet.
Sorry, I was talking to the people on chat. I'm still listening though, but
I'm just saying a great way to like show off that skybox a little bit, give us some niftiness there. Yeah.
Oh, I just remembered something.
All right, what we remember.
And I got to mention it before I forget. So a couple weeks ago on one of the brainstorms, we talked about guilds, and that brainstorm wasn't nearly as popular as some of the other ones were, and I kind of expected that to be the case. What I was trying to get at though is not just where do guilds fit in, because that's actually a tougher question in this type of game than it is in others, I would say. But also, what ways can we make the social, like improve the social interaction of the game? And I don't know if it was you and I who were talking about this or somebody else, but it would be kind of cool if at the end of a match, on the victory screen, it showed like, oh, you've played against this person before, maybe showed some of your stats against that person, or I don't know, had a little bit more going there to kind of tie you guys together, and then maybe when you have a conversation after the game, you have something to talk about, and actually kind of get those social interactions going. I mean, that's not totally up to the game to do that. People, if they want to socialize, it's up to them if they want to. But I'd like to see a little bit more stuff like that. And at the very first Gen Con, one of the things that I was really advocating was okay, so the first time we had actually gotten to play the game was that year at Gen Con.
Yep.
And when the match fired up, rather than it didn't show like the names of the players or anything else at the very beginning of the game. It just threw you right in.
Yeah.
And now it shows like the names of the players and their champion and their sleeves, and it has like that nice like almost Mortal Kombat or fighter game style where they like clash together. Yeah, prepare to fight. Like I was somebody advocating that. I mean, they might have already been planning it or something, but I'd like to see more stuff like that where it makes it more apparent that you're playing against a real person. That's the way to sum it up, I guess.
I definitely think anything that can customize this starting screen we're coming up to see here, like the banners are going to mean something, the sleeves are definitely going to mean something. Maybe even possibly getting in a form of, what's the best way to say it? Like maybe like a guild creed or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I think would be really awesome to put on there.
Yeah, we actually haven't seen guilds yet. That's another thing that I don't know how soon. I would imagine that if that was on the horizon, we would have known already, or I would hope so. But I mean, that's another thing that's hopefully not too far off.
Yeah, because it's definitely one of those things you want to be able to organize and get that in. But I would think I'd rather have arena before I saw guilds.
Yeah,
personally,
well, I think so too. And I mean, like I was saying with the brainstorm guilds. They're fun, they're exciting, but I don't think as many people are genuinely excited as they themselves think they are, or as other things. So we just had a bunch of people join. I'm going to say it another time or two before we keep moving on, or I'll say it another time or two as we're doing the show. I have a Pipit alternate art code that it's not scratched off yet, clearly, or I wouldn't be showing it. That I have a bunch of these, but we're going to be giving away one on the show today, towards the end. So definitely, stick around, and we will be raffling one of those off. That'll be fun.
Yes.
That'll be our giveaway for this week. But moving on, we were talking about Hex News patch coming out soon. That'll be exciting. A note to anybody in here: you're going to have to download like a new patch or something. It's not. I haven't gone and tried to do it yet, so it's not available yet. There might be some technicalities that we need to iron out in regards to getting that new launcher. But I don't know if you need to uninstall your current version of the game. That wasn't very clear.
Yeah, they weren't super clear on that, but you are going to have to reinstall, so that might be where they're trying to cover their bases.
Sure. Oh, yeah, Mateo in here. Awesome. So, what do we got else? They were doing the shirts and other swag, I guess maybe hats. I didn't actually look because...
I saw the shirts.
So they're doing shirts on Amazon, and I guess the the international shipping is not quite worked out yet. This whole shirt thing, I assume it was like kind of a test run of using this for order fulfillment, that when they do the posters that everybody's excited about, they'll be using the same method. So they want to get this working so that everybody's able to access them internationally or whatnot. And once they have it all figured out, then they can get the posters, so that nobody's left out of the loop on that one.
Hey, it makes sense to me. I get it. And especially, I'm glad you do it with a t-shirt that doesn't happen to actually be my size at the moment. Hey, you got round people, you know, Fento. We're not all 2Xs, and they make shirts small, okay?
Well, are there smalls? Are there ones my size?
There are ones your size. They thought of you.
Yeah, I think I might actually be the outlier from the number of people that. Well, even on the team, I was the only one wearing a small. There's not a whole lot of small gamers.
Well, it's not that there's not a whole lot of small gamers. It's just one of those things of, you know, there just happens to be a larger amount of big gamers.
Yep.
It's not like it's a sedentary hobby. I'm just saying.
So Fenteo was shouting out here in the chat box, and Aswan was chiming in that he thinks that they said you gotta do a fresh install, so probably uninstall your original one. But anyways, moving on. So there was
turn 4 Lixel. Sorry.
What, you got your invincible Lixel?
Yep. Turn 4 invincible Lixel.
Nice. All right.
And so I've got a Soul Marble in play, so this is going to be a 5/5 spell shield steadfast Lixel here in a couple turns. Sorry. I'm in love with my deck. What can I say?
Yeah, I might be. Sorry, folks, for people joining in. We started a little bit early tonight, and I might be rushing through things. I don't mean to, but I'm going out to play a bunch of board games with friends later tonight, so that should be fun. But that's not in a while. I just have to give myself some time to get ready. Anyhow, so those were like the two official Hex-related news in the community. The other one, well, besides the Rock Challenge, we talked about that a lot last week. It's still going. It's not too late to join, so you might as well, if you're a newer player and you only have like a handful of cards, you can still totally play in it. I would say on the Rock League, I was talking to Mokog, trying to make him guess at what I thought the most OP card was in Rock League, and maybe I'll let chat guess. So I'll say it in another couple of minutes, maybe once we're done talking about Colin's giveaway.
Right. Keep an eye on the chat, and whoever guesses what your thought of for the most OP card is will get 10 shards.
Oh, we'll get 10 shards. That's Mokog's Twitch currency. So just to go back around that again, I think there is one card which is way bonkers in this Rock League, and I'll let you guys see if you can figure it out. And it's not, well, it took Mokog a while to guess. It wasn't his initial gut instinct of Boulder Brute. So
no, that's because you are in as love with Boulder Brute as I am with this deck.
I love Boulder Brute. I think that's been made pretty clear to just about anybody I've talked to about Hex. So I will cross Boulder Brute off of the list right off the bat, and we'll move on to you wanted to talk about Colin's little giveaway he's doing.
Oh yeah, oh goodness. So Colin's Exalted. Almost everyone who's been around Hex for longer than 5 minutes realizes Colin is awesome and he's Exalted. He's got his own art. It's going to be in set 2 and it's going to be fabulous. But he hit 2,000 posts on the forums recently. So I'm looking and I'm like, I hit my 2,000 forum posts, and I'll be honest, or first day I've scanned over this, I'm like, okay, Colin hit 2,000 posts. I finally go in a couple days ago and I'm like, oh my god, what on earth is he giving away now? And it's really cool because what he decided to do is like, alright, I hit 2,000 posts, I like to do big things when I hit giveaways. So for this one, we're going to go ahead and do, tell me why you love Hex, tell me what you'd like to win, and he had another caveat on there, and it was just pretty much what you want to win, why you think you should win it, and how much you love Hex. And I'm like, oh my god, Colin, I know that if someone asked you for a trip to go see them, you might just give it to them. He's literally writing if you impress me how much you love Hex so much, here is a semi-blank check. And I'm like, Colin.
I mean, yeah.
Thank you.
He's done a lot of awesome things for a lot of people. I've been on the receiving end of his generosity, and a lot of people around have been, and it's great to have him around. I mean, besides him just being generous and being able to receive somebody else's generosity, it's awesome just to have him in the community because he's able to at least communicate some of the other things that the rest of us might not know about in the
him and Fento are high-fiving every Wednesday at game night for all I know.
Yeah. Actually, I think I was about to write a post in his giveaway thing, and I was gonna say I just wanted a picture of some shenanigans next time we went to the office and just people hanging out or something. But I was trying to do it in a way that every answer to the 3 questions each had like a Arnold Schwarzenegger quote as the link to click on, just because I was listening to a bunch of like Soundbox and quote of the day things that day, but I couldn't find one that fit for my second thing, so I'll have to figure something out.
So tell me when you're back in the office so that we know when you'll be back, and just in case you have to get to the chopper. So
people were talking in chat about the card. Nobody's figured it out yet. Neo actually knows what it is, so he can't answer because, as he pointed out, everybody's way off. He knows what it is because I said it on our Fancy Smancy team group. But it's definitely a pretty bonkers card. I think it's pretty backbreaking, and nobody's even mentioned it yet. But it took Mokog like 20 guesses, so not to trash talk Mokog, but I mean it's taken chat about the same number of guesses as well. So
we'll eventually start narrowing it down.
I mean I said I was going to spoil it after we were done talking about Colin's thing. But, did you still have anything to say about it?
It's awesome. Enter it. You have until the 29th, I believe, to be able to get it done. So
Mind Twist is pretty OP.
Yeah. So take care of business. It's awesome. He comes through on everything he promises. So go celebrate Colin's 2000th post. So that way we can get him up to 3,000 posts and he can do this again.
Even if you don't want anything, like me, even if you don't want anything, it's still a fun thread to take part in. It's fun to see what people are excited about.
Oh, most
that's the other good part. Speaking of things that we're excited about, though, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about what we have planned to talk about next.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one other thing. I need to make sure that it is visible. It's something that just sneaks up on everyone. Okay, it's visible now. Everything is cool. There's a drifter amongst us.
Yeah.
You'll see it soon.
I'm confused. Okay. Anyway, so a couple people just tuned in. They're asking why are people naming cards. So I said that there's one card that's OP in Rock League, and it seems like people are having fun guessing. So I'm gonna let them keep guessing for a little bit longer. Oh, you were showing your little the pack. Is that what you were showing?
Yeah, the drifter has joined us.
So that is another thing that was announced. Like there are going to be set 2 primal packs, which of course there are going to be because the set 1 ones specifically say set 1 primal pack. So we're going to have those Shattered Destiny primal packs, and they're pretty sweet looking. I can't wait to get my hands on a few. It's been a while since I had gotten a primal pack, and I finally got one again. I don't think I got one all summer out of winning packs, and I got one the other night. That made me pretty excited. So.
Well, I tell you what, primal packs are just like Lay's potato chips. You can't crack just one.
Isn't that Pringles?
Whatever. Well, it's just one of those, because I remember, like, it's going to be really different for some of the Kickstarter backers who, some of them lucked into being able to get multiple primals when they backed, and they're like, oh my goodness, we have such this great Kickstarter, do I open them all, or do I save one? And now everyone's starting on an even primal playing field, and it's going to be cool. A much more balanced field. But in any case, we have something that we posted up on the forums. We teased it a little bit in a couple different spots, and you want to go ahead and announce it?
Yeah. Okay. So what we're doing, I would actually say people should tune in. You should actually, what you should really do is if you had the YouTube clip, you could play it right now. We should have thought ahead, and you would be able to do that. That would have been pretty cool to do on the General's Tent. Play the little thing you did.
Then it just would have just been me talking again.
Yeah. But it's a fun clip. Okay? Well, I'll get back to that in a second. Anyway, so what we're doing is what we're calling is the Hex Budget Challenge, and each of us independently is going to start a fresh account and put $10 worth of platinum on it, and we're going to see how far we can get with just $10. So the idea is that we're kind of doing the new player experience. Sure, we're not new players, but they're going to be new accounts and we're not going to be able to give stuff from our main account to these other ones. It has to just be earned completely independently, all on their own, and you're seeing how far you can get with $10. And we have some like achievements, basically. They're either goals or dreams. So we're going to see how many of these achievements we can accomplish on $10, how much of the game we can play and enjoy, and stuff like that. As one or two people point out, yeah, we're not new players. We're pretty, decent at the game.
They called us pro players. I was so happy.
Yeah, I didn't even make it to the pro player invitational. Damn alarm clock not waking me up. But that's besides the point. It's not really about us being new players or not. It's about what's possible. So you might have somebody who's extremely competent at trading card games and they just hadn't played Hex yet. They would hypothetically be capable of accomplishing the same things we would be able to. Or you could have somebody who's just incredibly lucky. They're the luckiest person ever born, and they're not good at the game. They just get so lucky that they win every once in a while, like me. Yeah. Did anybody announce it? Terabot is pretty good. And actually, what else is pretty good? Headless Executioner, which I hardly ever play, turns out to be really good in the Rock League, a 5/5. Sure, it can't block, but it swings in for a ton of damage. Pretty good. Did anybody call it out yet? Okay, well, I think I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it, so now I can talk, or we can both talk about this without being distracted. So let me scroll through real quick and see if anybody got it. They had Volcanon. Well, I said not Volcanon, or only because Bertram's not in there, and it's probably a little too slow. Terabot's pretty strong. What else we got in there? Okay, nobody named the card. Air Superiority, I bet would be pretty good though, and I did tinker around with building with that. The OP card is Terrible Transfer. I mean, it's a slow format, and even if you can't kill their Boulder Brute or their Forgotten Lord with your Terrible Transfer, you can still kill something and gain like 15 life. And then you have like 4 or 5 more turns to draw something and do all kinds of awesome stuff. So yeah, the OP card is definitely Terrible Transfer. Cards that are also OP and happen to be Blood, Call of the Grave, and
Call of the Grave is still
and Blood
awesome.
Aura, both also very good. I mean, not all the amazing cards are Blood, but those 3 together are all pretty good. Sure, you got Boulder Brute, Forgotten Lord, both pretty strong. But Terrible Transfer, that's where it's at. I don't care what anybody else says. Way OP. Anyhow. But yeah,
well, and one of the things I think the Rock League does really well is it emphasizes how much play power and board presence there are in just the commons.
Yep. Well,
so I really I like that aspect of it, and we're going to need to be really fresh with that because with the budget challenge. So one of the big ideas that we have with the budget challenge was to, aside from just replicating the experience, it was also to give ourselves that real understanding of how do we compare the present form of Hex TCG, which is a free-to-start and a pay-to-compete style of TCG until we get our PvE implemented. How do we compare an initial investment across multiple types of games on an understandable level? Because if I wanted to go play Pokemon, even the online TCG, they have a good setup to where I can get a free starter, I can push and get new cards there. I can do a lot of really cool things on the Pokemon TCG, but you can only get so far without going in and buying physical packs or going to go buy a physical starter. You could do the same thing with Wizards of the Coast products as well, where you really need at least a starter to do well in their online platforms. And if you want to do any physical TCG, well, most of those were about $10. So I wanted to see, it's like, okay, let's go ahead and really compare Hex on those same playing fields. If I'm going to play a TCG, let's put in $10 and let's roll.
And really, as you were pointing out in the thread, so if people want to look at more details about what it is that we're doing, there's a thread on the fan site forums for this. It has the little video of Mokog talking, introducing it on there, and then it has the whole kind of the rules we set for ourselves. And we're going to have some lifelines. Those are fun. We'll talk about those in a second. But as Mokog pointed out in the thread, is $10 in any other game, that's not even enough to really get started. In a lot of games, you'd be lucky if you were even able to draft once for $10. In most games, you wouldn't even be able to. So the fact that I actually think we potentially, if we get lucky enough, could get a decent amount of play from just $10 says a lot about the game.
True.
And the next thing on that same note is that whatever other game you're playing, if you're playing it in a physical space and you go win a draft and the prize is 3 packs, most stores, some are an exception to this, but most stores or shops or cafes or wherever you're playing won't allow you to use those 3 packs again to enter another draft. They're not going to give that to you as an option because they just want to sell you more packs. Yep. Likewise, they won't allow you to go buy packs down the street at the corner store and then come over to their store and play with packs that you bought somewhere else. They won't allow you to do that. But with Hex, you'll be able to. And that's one of the things that makes playing so affordable. It's not really that readily known to the brand new player that not only does it only cost $7 if you're using the MSRP of a draft, and then even less if you're buying the packs off the auction house, but the ability to use the packs you win as your entry fee towards the next draft just means that they're going to be that much cheaper. Like I think that's a pretty big deal, and maybe not everybody realizes it when they're brand new to the game. So
yeah. So if you think about it, if every time that you would want to do a draft in a physical TCG, you would need to buy fresh packs, and you could never actually use your winnings for drafts outside of that store, or the next weekend, which a lot of the times ends up occurring, then you'll only be able to draft at home. So, which drafting at home is fantastic when you've got a big group of friends to do that, but all of our friends at this moment are online. Heck, they're in the chat right now.
Yeah, so talking about the challenge, why don't I run down the list of what our goals and our dreams are. And again, for the difference between the two of them is the goals are basically what we expect we might, or like we're likely to accomplish all these goals with $10 or come pretty close to it. Are what is it? We got to play 1 Swiss draft and 1 competitive draft. We got to do 1 of each. We were initially just going to say play 2 drafts, but figured for recording purposes it would be more fun to do the Swiss and do the competitive. Speaking of recording purposes, and especially since Neo's in here and he's been giving me a hard time about it, is one of the requirements for Mokog and myself is that we record 1 video and post it to YouTube every week while we're doing this. We don't need to record necessarily every single little thing we do, whether it's selling cards in the auction house in order to continue rolling our drafts, or whether it's playing on the proving grounds, whether it's doing the draft. Along those lines, somewhere we need to be recording some videos and putting them on YouTube. That's kind of more for me personally because I've been a slacker, but it helps Mokog out with some motivation as well. So you guys can follow along. But back to the goal. So play 1 Swiss, play 1 competitive draft, win 20 games in the proving grounds. So that hypothetically you could do without spending a single penny on the game.
True.
You're getting your starter deck. Eventually, you're going to win 20 games. Sure, if you're terrible at it and your deck is terrible, there's still somebody out there who's worse than you, and eventually you're going to get paired against them 20 times. I mean, that's the extreme way of putting it. Winning 20 times is not that unreasonable, but that's just part of, being able to experience the game. So win 20 proving grounds matches, and the nice part about that is at least currently we're getting gold for doing that, and you might be able to use that and buy some of the commons or uncommons you're missing, and, build some more of your card pool. What else do we got going? Play a constructed tournament. So there's a couple, there's some nuances to that. Is it better to build an expensive deck and play the tournament with a higher chance to win? Or is it better to build the deck that you can afford to build and you might not be that likely to win? And Mokog and I were talking about that a lot last night when we were finalizing some of our own restrictions on this. And I would imagine that we'll probably talk about that specific thing a little bit more in maybe a video or something, because we actually ended up talking about it a lot last night, didn't we? Oh
yeah, at least 20-minute conversation on what's the most optimal way that you want to try looking at from a new player position, how to get to a constructed standpoint. And I think it makes a big difference.
And if you had like all the money, it's probably always best to just build the best deck and play that and then hope to sell it. But if you're a new player and you have a limited amount of money, then what the best choice for you is, there are some nuances to it. So well, that'll be fun to talk about more as we delve into our challenge. Also, we have play in a constructed, no, that was what I was saying, play in a constructed tournament. Also, we have play in a sealed tournament, which is probably one of the harder goals to achieve. And I only say that because we're going to have to have won a few times or have gotten some more platinum if we're going to be able to play in the sealed tournament, because they're a little bit more pricey and they take those 6 packs. So we have to somehow have accumulated 6 packs. Another one here is out of those tournaments we joined is win a tournament that you played in.
At least one along the first bit.
Whether it's a draft, a sealed, or a constructed, just win something that you were doing. Own for a playset of every common, own a playset of every uncommon, and build a competitive constructed deck. And this doesn't mean that it has to be absolutely tier 1 or tuned really well. It has to be decent. So if we're able, and that's kind of the final goal, if we're able to do that, then we did pretty well for ourselves, just off $10.
Yeah, I think you would have done extremely well for $10 at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of stuff. But, you know, the idea was to set the bar high and just see how close to those goals were able to come. If it could totally happen that we just don't have any luck at all and we fail
it could be totally
and
miserable.
Amazingly. So. You want to talk about the dreams?
So one of the big things we were thinking about dreams is one of the big common dreams that have been in TCGs is the idea of going infinite. And so it's like, well, how do you really represent infinite? What does that mean? Well, one of the things about infinite essentially means is like, well, if you go infinite, then technically you should have at least one of every card. So it should start off of one of every rare, one of every legendary. You should be able to win one of each tournament type that you enter in minimum. I mean, because if you're going infinite, you should be getting maximizing the effort values across the board. Another really good one is you should be able to hit a full playset and essentially build yourself up as a tournament pro player if you're going infinite. You know, that's kind of what that skill level means. It's what adjusting for that skill level is like.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a couple of the big ideas for the dreams, so to speak.
And when Mokog's saying full playset, he means 4 of every card, not just the uncommons and commons, but the rares and the legendaries too.
Yeah, the thing that people spend hundreds of dollars trying to accomplish.
That's the best way to put it. That really is the pinnacle of at least the dream scenario here with this challenge, and I think there is a less than 2% chance that we're able to do that off a mere $10. It's possible.
Well, and one of the other things is we gave ourselves lifelines in this case, and I wanted it to be something a little bit gamey as we were going in and doing this challenge. One of the big reasons for that is because there are just going to be times when luck is not in your favor, you're not going to win, you're going to draft the best deck you possibly could, and your opponent just pulls every answer necessary. You're going to not be able to get sells on the auction house in time because not everyone's buying the exact cards you have available to sell. Sometimes you just need a boost to get by. And a lot of times that occurs if you don't happen to be a big Kickstarter backer. My goodness, there's so many mimics. If you don't happen to be a big Kickstarter backer, that... so many Groks, damn it! I am fighting through these Groks. Death Cliff! Granted, I have an extinction in hand. I will kill all of these and leave Elixir alive, damn it. I'll do it too. In any case, sorry, I apologize, chat. That was a terrible thing on my part. That was unprofessional, and I'm going to kill everything.
The more rage, the better.
In any case, I'm off on the train. Function, you're going to have to bring me back on this one.
Okay, so we were talking about lifelines, and we have 3 lifelines. We really did lose track of the train there. All right, so we're talking about lifelines, and this is because I guess the first caveat here is it's entirely possible that that with those $10, I think we can probably enter 2 drafts, but it's entirely possible that we lose those drafts round 1. Well, I don't think you'd be able to play 2 if you lost them both round 1, but we'll say that you played 2, and after the second one, you've done miserably, and you have no packs left, and you have no platinum left, and your rares are not worth any platinum, so you can't sell them and get more packs to draft with, that at that point, you might have done miserably. Or maybe you did a little bit better than that, and just further down the line, you started to fall behind. So at the point where you can't really when you get to the point that you can't really progress on the goals any further, then we're going to be allowed to use our lifelines. And because we're both doing this independently, Mokog's going to have his lifelines, I'm going to have mine, and we're going to see, even if we get the goals, all of them, we're going to see how many lifelines we had to use to get there.
Yep.
But let's talk about what the 3 lifelines are, because they're kind of fun. We talked about it a lot last night to try to come up with some wacky ones, and we were initially even going to say on the General's tent here, if people could come up with some for us to use, that might be fun. But I think we came up with 3 that we really liked.
Yes.
On the flip side, though, if people have some to suggest, and we do this again, maybe we could use those. But our 3 lifelines, what are they? We can crack a primal.
Yeah, so one of them is we can crack a primal pack, and that would be really great for like getting you the stuff to do some of the constructed tournaments, or giving you the rares or legendaries you need to sell to be able to continue running drafts. There's a lot of strategic things that you can do with that type of scenario.
Yeah.
Another one was a draft pack too.
Well, I wanted to say one thing about the primal. Even though we started talking about it just now, as the primal is the first one, I kind of feel like that's the last lifeline we should be able to use, because I feel like that's probably the highest value one. Like, you might get some amazing stuff in there.
You can get some really amazing things, or you can get some really terrible things in a primal.
Yeah, you could. But going back to the primal, the way that's going to work is somehow we'll figure a way to transfer our primal from our main account to these budget accounts that we're using. So that's a lifeline, is you're able to transfer yourself a primal and use that to get yourself kick-started again and going and maybe back on the right track.
Yep.
All right, but you were going to say the other 2 lifelines?
Yeah, so the other one of our other lifelines is actually the draft pack. So the draft pack is really great in that it gives you 3 packs, which allow you to set up for another draft, but it then also gives you a draft ticket. So it's a really good set in the price way, in the price wise of looking at it, because it's roughly each of the packs is 200 platinum. It's about, simple math shall not elude me, $12 to $15 worth of value to pull that off.
For the draft pack?
Yeah, for the draft pack, and that's kind of like going down and spending $10-15 at the local card store.
I would say it's closer to $6 worth of value, but
well,
I mean, the cards you're getting out of it, sure, but you could get all the entry for the draft for about $6, so I would put it closer to that than 15.
So to me, it was a really good representation of how much you would put in for like your next installment. To me, that's kind of like your first lifeline of, okay, I really just needed another, a quick boost to be able to continue onward. To
get you going again. Yeah, and I think that one probably will be the first of our lifelines. The next, and then so the 3rd lifeline is get a sponsor. So we've already got Colin volunteering, and as far as sponsors go, he's the one you would want most on your side.
It's because of Colin I had to put a limit, okay?
Yeah, it was because of Colin we had to put a limit on there. But the idea with the sponsors, and the way we're probably going to do it, is we're still taking sponsors. I think when the time comes to actually pick somebody to use that lifeline is, say hypothetically we got 10 people to volunteer as the sponsor. The way it works as a sponsor, the sponsor has to be willing to give us either somewhere between 100 and 2,000 platinum worth of help. So they could just give it 100 platinum. That's just $1. If they wanted to, that counts as a sponsorship. That's a little finicky. There's a little bit more I might have to say about that. But if they wanted to, that's an option. And then when it comes down to it, to actually use that lifeline, I think the way we're going to do it is we're probably going to have like 10 people or so that are possible sponsors, and we're going to just roll the dice randomly and see who it lands on. And if that person is available, we'll probably get in contact with them a day before or so, and we'll try to get them on the show. So if I'm going to stream the next time we'll probably stream every time we use a lifeline. If I'm going to stream that time, hopefully I can get that person to stream alongside me and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do to help you out, Function. Here it is. I hear I'm coming to save the day. I'm going to give you a Vampire King or something. You can use that to sell.
Sell!
Or it could be any number of things that somehow, get you back in the game. And on this one especially, what we really wanted to highlight was the other people doing content or the other members of the community. And it's not really so much as a greedy note for people just to give us stuff. That's not really what we need or what we want at all. We just wanted to give somebody else a chance to join in on some of the fun. And there was one other important thing I was going to say along this lines, and I blanked out on it. Oh, and the other part about this is that, you know, if you pay enough attention to like Hacky Stream or Neo Stream or Snake Stream or anybody out there who's streaming, a lot of these guys are doing giveaways. And not just that, there's like Crone doing the Rock League, and if you take part in that, you don't even have to win. There's prizes that are just like door prizes. All these community-driven events have some sort of prize. I mean, on our show today, we're doing the Pipit, right? We're going to be giving the Pipit away, and that might not help you enter a draft on its own. It's not going to be in a draft. It's not going to, you know, get you into a draft. But they are selling on the auction house. If you didn't need it, you could sell it. Hopefully, whoever wins it does need it and actually wants it and is going to use it. But the idea of what we're getting at here,
oh god, there's so many of these things coming down.
If you're just part of the audience, you know, the chances out there for if you're taking part in being, I guess, contributing to the community as being part of the audience, because that's important too, that there's stuff out there that can help you in your game endeavors. You might be able to win something that helps you out. And so that's kind of what that lifeline represents, is that you're taking part in the community, and in some way, the community is giving back to you. So yeah, that's my spiel about that. Are you doing the giveaway? Is that what this?
Yes, that's what
the shards is.
That's what the shards is. So to make things, in all honesty, more fair as people come through, we're doing shard giveaways. So the amount of shards you'll be receiving is the exact same amount of shards that you'll need to enter the giveaway. Yeah.
So we're doing the Pipit giveaway today at the end of the show, which is going to be pretty soon. And I think we were talking about at the beginning of the show is we're going to start using your little currency thing. So this time around, it's going to be 10 shards, which isn't a whole lot. Most of the people who've been watching from the beginning of today's show should be able to enter, or people who've tuned in other times should be able to enter. But for the people who just tuned in at the last minute, Mokog is doing a couple of giveaways, so even those people have a chance to get some shards and hopefully win a Pipit. So
yes,
yeah,
it'll be awesome. That's what I'm shooting for, dang nabbit. Blank slate and things. So I think that really covers a lot of what we're wanting to do with the budget challenge, and we're going to be doing really good on our giveaway, and I'm about to get stomped by a ton of Eldritch streamers right here.
Another thing on the challenge though is we haven't quite figured it out for everybody, but we're going to try to have some way to follow along more than just watching us and listening to us or however else we're presenting the content. Hopefully we're going to have some sort of spreadsheet that people are going to follow along, and they're going to actually be able to track how we accomplished what we said we accomplished, so we're not just, you know, faking it.
Yeah, because
that's one more thing to go along with it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where I never want it to be along the lines of, if one of us happens to be doing really well, I never want it to come down to the thought of, oh, well, they
just got stuff from their main account.
They just, you know, I don't want it to be like they transferred over or any thought of impropriety when coming to do it. I want it to be, you know, that honest thought of they started with $10 and they have a couple cheats, and I know exactly when they cheated, and when they did cheat, it was because of this, and they showed me what happens when I did this one thing.
And those are part of the rules, so they're not really cheating. I mean, it's initially as part of, you know, the expectation that we set. But when we are talking about cheating, another thing could be, well, function cheating. He put in a soothing breeze, because that's what people were mentioning in chat as a card. He put it up for 10,000 platinum, and somebody bought it. It's like, well, yeah, that
is weird. Colin, you're not allowed to do that to functions cards.
Yeah, so we're not gonna kind of do it with these underhanded techniques to get any further. And then Mokog was getting back to it with so the limit on the if you're volunteering as a sponsor, if you're okay, I should actually rewind a little. I'm getting ahead of myself and all flustered. For the sponsors, if you're somebody listening right now and you want to take part in that, PM one of us either in Twitch or on the forums. My forum inbox is already full. Like, managing those forum inboxes is tricky, especially with these brainstorms we've been doing, which we completely skipped this week on the general sent. And I said I had a whole bunch to say about it. But anyways, so the forum inbox, maybe not the best one, but Twitch, Twitter, really good way to do it. You know, or you could even reply in the the thread that we made. Just that, hey, I'll be a volunteer, and we can figure it out more as we go. But that was that. But we also have a limit. You can't give more than 2,000 platinum, which is $20, which is quite a bit. Like, I wouldn't expect somebody to really give us that much, but really the limit is there so Colin doesn't come in and cheat and give you like way more than he gives you the playset. Like that would be no fun just for the sake of challenge. Not
the thought about it is the amount that you should put in should not be much more than a mid-level or a low-level Kickstarter tier. To me that seems more fair. What is someone who invests in a TCG, they may bring $50 for like the whole length and breadth of the time they play TCG if they're a very casual player. One of the things that elevates a consistent player versus a casual player is the amount of times that you play, as well as the amount of additional resources you put in from your time. And one of the big opportunities I believe Hex has, even in our non-PvE state, is you can sink time intelligently into the game and acquire PvP resources. It's difficult, and you need a little bit of a kickstart. It's not impossible, but prohibitively time-consuming right now to do it from nothing. Okay. But you can do it from $10, and I want us to prove it, Dave Nabbit.
I think we've talked everything about the challenge then?
Yes.
Okay. So what's left for the show? We always, at the end of our show, we open a pack and we talk about what the pick is in it. We also usually roll a chest or two, and we do our giveaway. We didn't actually get to the brainstorm yet. Did we want to talk about that for a minute or two before we move on?
While I'm doing the, tell us what was going on with the brainstorm, because you had a lot more responses on this week's brainstorm than last week's.
Yeah. So last week's even got a decent number of responses. I would say you got about the average number of responses. I think the one that we got the most responses on so far, I want to say, is the sleeves one. That got a lot of people talking about it. But for those who are unaware of the brainstorms, it's a forum post that I've been making every week now for almost like a month or 2 months. Well, it's been more than a month. I've done a lot of them. And I'm actually surprised I was able to motivate myself to do them regularly enough. Although I started doing them on Mondays every week, and now it's become Tuesdays every week, so Tuesday's the new Monday.
Yeah, well, you need to get it back to Monday so that you can fall back on Tuesdays again.
Yeah, I do, before it turns into Wednesday. But I've been pretty good about them. So anyways, we've been doing these pretty regularly. I think the only week I actually missed was the week of Gen Con, if I'm not mistaken. But rewinding. So last week's we talked about pets. Troops that come into play and create another troop that is their pet. And we have cards in existence right now. They're like that. The Shell Safe Sure Shot, or Sure Shot, whatever that one is. It always gets tongue tied on that guy.
Shell Safe Sure Shot.
The
Silver Talon,
Silver Talon Senator, which actually, by the lore, the Wizard, I think, is the one that's the pet. We have a couple other cards coming in set 2 that are going to be pet-related cards. King Gabriel, not a pet, with Boldheart in play. Neither of those guys are pets because nobody told Boldheart what to do.
Nobody.
Anyhow, so that was last week's. We got a lot of good responses. Although I will say a lot of the responses kind of felt like it was a troop that put another troop into play, but one wasn't really the pet of the other. They were just like two somewhat related troops, or they weren't even related in some cases. So there were a couple of weird responses, but there were also a lot of really fun ones. Somebody came up with a Wizard of Oz themed one. I think that was Sven, if I'm not mistaken. And that one was like, had Dorothy, and Dorothy put into play the lion and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and Toto, I think, something like that. Another one did Tony Stark, like Iron Man.
Nice.
As
all of a sudden he summons all of his suits.
Yeah, he summons the suit, and then as he does things within the game, the suit gets stronger and upgrades him. So that was kind of fun. Although that one was border. I think that might have even been the one I chose for the winner. That one even was borderline. Is it really a pet kind of thing for me?
Gotcha.
Because it almost felt like, even if that wasn't a pet, that could have still been a dwarf mechanic, kind of in the same way that Rocket Ranger is. That it wasn't all that different mechanically from Rocket Ranger, but I still loved it so much I had to pick that one, and it was close enough. I mean, so as long as people were at least kind of close with the pet idea, we still chose it. Oh, nice. They're doing game night tonight. That's pretty sweet.
Sweet.
But then this week's brainstorm is we're talking about resources. So the thing that maybe I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, and I have to apologize because I did make a post later in the resources saying it felt like a lot of people were going after low-hanging fruit as far as coming up with a resource for the game went. And then I went back after the fact and reread a lot of the responses, and then I was like, you know what, maybe these aren't low-hanging fruit. But all I was going to say is just reskinning a resource from another game, that feels kind of boring. Like, don't try to copy some, like, almost word for word another one from another game. Like, those are obvious choices. That's the low-hanging fruit. That's what I meant. But a lot of people were actually coming up with genuinely interesting stuff for the resources here. And there was a lot of, like, I would like to see a little bit more balanced discussion in some of this week's one, because the resources, one reason it might seem like low-hanging fruit is they have to be pretty simple. They can't be that amazing because they are kind of the foundation for which the game is built on.
Gotcha.
And if you have these incredibly powerful resources, it kind of, you're playing a different game than you're used to with Hex. You're not able to counter them. When you play it, it doesn't go to the graveyard, it just disappears entirely from the game. They all kind of, resources in and of themselves operate under slightly different rules than the rest of the cards do. So there's some other things there, but the one thing I would say about resources, and maybe this is just a pet peeve of mine, I think it really is, so, you know, don't take it anyway, and I'm not going to use it when I'm judging for this week's contest for the brainstorm, is resources where they have an effect that isn't really resource related. I really like those kind of cards, but did it actually need to be a resource? And it's hard to describe it, like when we're doing this short thing on this the General's tent here.
Yeah.
But if it was an artifact instead, could it have done the exact same thing with less real estate? I guess is the best way to put it. Like, could it have used less text on the cards, or would it have needed to not create so many cards or so many effects? Would it have been more elegant? That's the best word to use. Would it have been more elegant if you just used a different card type?
All right, I've got an idea for you.
Well, real quick though, I would say in some cases the answer is no. Some cases, if it was something other than the resource, it would act completely differently. But what were you going to say?
All right, so here's Mokog's idea, and maybe I'll type it up. So let's say each of our shards are gems, right? So the idea is that you get a diamond shard or a ruby shard or wild. Like wild and blood are like coalesced essences that are then put into play, and then they give you the resources and the charge. Well, what if we had something like a prismatic gem, or a shard of a prismatic gem comes into play? It provides you a 1/1, no threshold, but instead it puts in an artifact into play with 3 tokens on it, and you gain charges for every token. And at the end of turn, you remove a token.
Or gain a charge or gain a threshold?
No, so what you do is the artifact gives you charges.
Okay.
So when it first comes into play, it gives you 3 charges, but then loses a token. And then,
even while I was saying, like, it could be thresholds too.
Oh yeah, it could be thresholds.
It could be anything on that. I like that though. I mean, so that's kind of what I was saying was my pet peeve, but that way, the way you're executing it is unique and interesting. Like, if it was just an artifact that did the same effect, well then it would behave differently, and there's no way to rectify that really.
Well, yeah, because if it's an artifact, then you've got the counterplay of someone can come in, destroy your gem, and now you've lost the charges for playing that, and you gave up your threshold.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is that's a good way of doing it. There's some that just feel a little clunky, but I like that. I mean that would be a good one. So why don't we go ahead and open our pack, and while we're opening our pack and discussing that, we can open the contest or open the raffle for the Pipit.
Done. Let's open that pack.
Okay, so for everybody still listening, now is your chance to enter the giveaway for our jovial Pipit, our jovial friend from Gen Con here. After the stream, I'm going to scratch off the card, and I will PM you the code for this on Twitch. The way that's going to work is you don't need to follow me. And this, for anybody who's brand, I'm Function and he's Mokog. You don't need to be following my Twitch in order to enter the giveaway or anything like that. But if you're not following me, it's going to probably go to your junk folder for your mail. So just be sure to check that. And when you get it, if you don't mind, just respond back to me that you got the code. So I'm going to mail you the code. What is the Pipit, you might ask? I don't know if it's a PvP card or a PvE card. I think it's PvP, but this is an alternate art one. It's a 2/1 for 2 resources and 2 wild threshold. It says, at the start of your turn, you may choose a card in your hand. That card transforms into a different card that is the same shard as the original card. So maybe you have a card that you drew late game, and it wasn't what you wanted. Well, you can roll the dice and see if you get something that's a little bit better, so long as your good friend Pipit is in play.
Well, and Jovial Pipit also is supposed to work really well with the Merc that came out with Gen Con as well.
Yeah.
They synergize really well.
That was the whole theme there. So we are doing using the shards currency. We're trying it out for the first time. I know for some people it kind of sucks if you just joined in and you really want it, but it won't be your last chance to win one. So don't be too dismayed. I think this pack is really poignant. Hacky's hyping me up here a little bit. You should be following me because I'm actually going to probably start streaming again.
Yes.
I've said that like a million times and I haven't, but this time
you're going to now. Otherwise, I'm going to be on your tail, making sure to be like, did you get your stream up? Did you at least do it once this week? Did you show people how things were going on? Did you write down everything? Did you submit your spreadsheet so that we can keep these things tracked? I don't have what you did this week, Function. Where's your video?
Yeah, that's right.
I want to turn into the video nanny, and I don't apologize.
Honestly, I kind of need that. Yeah, I mean, I kind of need someone to be like, hey, get off your ass. Do this thing you said you were going to do. So. All right, yeah. So for those who are actually watching the game while the General's tent was going on, this pack right here is extremely poignant. I'm just going to say. If you open this in draft, I think it would be pretty slam dunk. I know what I'm taking. Like, boom! Yeah. Windmill slam. Boom. Yeah. So, for those who don't see it quite super fast, the rare in this pack happens to be Menacing Grok, who's going to be one of the alternate arts that's available on the VIP tournament this coming weekend. Awesome. Yeah. And this card is greatness for Mono Sapphire. It's really hard to dual shard with, but it's fantastic for Mono Sapphire because it's a 5 for 2/2. But when he enters play, you exhaust each opposing troops, and they can't ready their opponent's next ready step. So in the game that I was facing a very good troop control deck that kept cycling the Menacing Grok often enough that my big hitters could not be untapped long enough to make it through. And it was very well executed. They were doing really well. I appreciated watching the Menacing Grok go on because I'm like, man, I'm getting my tail handed to me, but they're doing it so intelligently, I can't be mad at them. I got so frustrated, I just had to kill everything. Hacky was saying in chat, somebody needs to make a windmill slam emote. I think Clarissa's making noise over there. The windmill slam, what would it be? It would be like, it would have a picture of a windmill and like a rigid buffalo slamming into it or something. So either a rigid buffalo slamming into it or like a windmill and it just fall. Yeah. Windmill. It could just be windmill upside down. But anyways, so we were talking about Grok. Yeah, Grok's crazy good. And I think it's at least a rare that sells decently on the auction house. I can't remember. You probably know better than I do because you're the economics guy. Well, since I have it pulled up, and I'll take it out from over chat, and I'll pull it over here to where I can see it. Menacing Grok, while it was going through and doing all of its wonderful things throughout last month, let's see how it is doing at the end of September. While you're pulling that up real quick, though, but yeah, Grok, crazy strong in draft. Like, it is definitely a very, very strong card in draft. It's one of the better rares, and it's just because it has such a oops, I won the game moment. Like, draft, there are definitely times when you're playing and the board gets pretty cluttered that each player has a bunch of troops and neither of them can attack because they lose a bunch of their guys, but then you have Grok, and it's kind of the same as like Pheromones or something where you just get to attack with all your guys and your opponent can't do anything about it. Too bad. You know, the funny part about Menacing Grok is it is actually really well priced for what a rare should be, like when you think of what a valuable rare ought to be. So a Menacing Grok all last month was doing anywhere from 250 platinum to just under 200 platinum. Okay. So for about the price of a pack, you get a rare that defines the price of a pack. And to me, that's pretty decent value. It's not necessarily like the most awesome thing in the world. It's not like you're getting 2 packs whenever you open one of these guys. But if you get him in a draft and you run Sapphire and win, you get more packs. So then he's worth it. Yeah, so I mean, it's a great way to look at it. If you don't care about ever playing constructed or about building a collection or any of that, at the very least, you take this, you are already almost 1/3 of the way into your next draft.
Well, yeah,
That's just the
he's
first
at
card
least
you pick.
worth 2 entry fees themselves. Generally,
So
you should be able to get them for.
we've talked about what the clear pick is here.
Yes.
Let's
The
look at the
next
rest
pick.
of the pack, at least in a vacuum, maybe without the Grok in there.
So yeah,
What else
let's
is in
pretend this poor guy's not here right now because he's really the demanding all-star of this pack. There's a couple picks in here, but they stand out to me pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty close. Like, there's a bunch of decent cards in here. I'd say like Brood Creeper is okay. I'm not sure if I would first pick it because then you are kind of making a commitment into blood, and I don't know. You might not end up playing him, and he usually is like, as soon as you play it, somebody blows him up. He's pretty fragile with only 2 defense. That even if he gets blocked, he's usually going to die.
He forces action, and that's where he's good though. Because if you don't handle the Blood Creeper, he will overwhelm sooner than you very quickly. But then we have other cards like we've got the Prairie Scout here. The Prairie Scout is really good +1/+1 utility for making sure that you can get certain threats through. And plus he does some combo stuff with some of the Ruby cards.
Yeah. So I mean, and yeah, giving him flight or I don't know, giving him a wild aura, like all those are good options. But yeah, what were we saying?
And then you have like standard removal. You got burn. You got mesmerize. You got underdog of the year.
What was underdog of the year?
Shield Trainer.
Scout? Oh, Shield Trainer. Yeah, Shield Trainer is good because it kind of counters Zared, and Zared's crazy strong in draft. So Shield Trainer is pretty good. I still wouldn't first pick it. What is it? Wailing Banshee is pretty good when you have that Insight Fury on it. I got wrecked so hard. The other day. I thought I had an amazing deck. I was so proud of myself for drafting this deck, and I got absolutely wrecked. It didn't have a whole lot of removal, and I knew that was one of its weaknesses. And basically, my opponent's entire deck was all of these Ruby Gem guys that can't be blocked, and these Wailing Banshees, and a bunch of Insight Furies and Lionel Flynn, and I just got absolutely, completely wrecked. So that happened. Wailing Banshee isn't bad if you want to end up going that route and building that deck. I think I'd still probably just take the burn. It's the most flexible. None of these cards stands out too strong. They're all pretty equal pet play, or they're all pretty equal as far as that goes. The Mortar Strike's pretty good too, but the burn, you could even just splash Ruby for it and play it. It's usually better earlier in the game because it only hits for 1 versus Mortar Strike, which is a little bit better later. And I think the extra effect of Mortar Strike is very real. Like
it's definitely real in
the
draft.
top cards of their deck, if they're troops, is pretty significant because if it removes 1 troop, then chances are that their next 2 cards might be resources. And if you're playing a 5-cost card, you're probably later in the game and they might not need those resources. Like, it kind of messes with the game plan. It gives you a lot of extra value that's kind of hard to put your finger on exactly how much value you're getting out of it. That's all I would say about Mortar
You're saying
Strike,
it's like someone's lobbed a bomb and killed a troop, and maybe there was splash damage? Flavor?
Well played. Okay. I think that's...
Yeah, I think those are definitely the highlights. To me, it's a toss-up between the burn and running the creeper, but I'm also a really big fan of running blood. So I would probably first pick the creeper, and I'll be like, blood just bought my soul after the menacing Grok. But the Grok is the bomb. It is the bomb.
I don't know if he's still listening or if he's doing game nights, Snake, but you should hit him up on Twitter. Too,
yes, Fento pays attention to Twitter. It is a good place to get a hold of him.
But anyhow, moving on. Yes. I think that's the pick. You want to roll some packs and then pick our winner for the Pipit, and we are wrapped up and right about the amount of time we playing.
Roll! We've got 1 roll today. Is it good? It's at least a reroll. It's a free reroll. It's a free reroll.
Did I tell you the other day I rolled the same chest like 8 times and didn't get anything out of it?
Oh my goodness. That is the reason why gold is coming out of the economy so quickly, is because the way our reroll system works, you can spend anywhere from 1,200 to 5,000, 8,000 gold on a common chest, just one cycle through. And when you compare that, how many commons is that? That can be anywhere from 60 to 80 commons, depending on how much you priced whatever common at. And so you're just pulling all the gold coming out from there.
But yeah, for anybody listening, Fanteo saying here in chat, at CM Fanteo, that's him on Twitter. And those guys are pretty good about using Twitter. They spoil a lot of stuff on there and just talk with people and, you know, give them a little, hey, we notice you kind of stuff. So that's always fun. But speaking of, hey, we notice you kind of stuff, we are wrapping up. We're probably going to be shutting down the General's tent in the next 5 minutes or so. So this time, I'm actually going to remember to ask. We have a couple streamers in here, I know for sure. We have Hacky in here, we have Snake in here, we have Neo in here. Or if any of you guys are going to be streaming later, or right after we're done, which is going to be pretty soon, go ahead and say so in chat, because we might as well keep the hype train going, right? But anyways, so we were talking about chests. I rolled my chest. I was just rolling commons. The first time I got sleeves, and I already have all the sleeves, so it didn't tell me what I got, but it lets you re-roll it. The second time, I got sleeves again, and C number 1 in this case. And then for the next 4 times, I either got the gold single eyeball or just a single eyeball. So I was just letting me re-roll it over and over again. And then I think I got like the 2 eyeballs, which lets you just re-roll it for free. And then I finally rolled it again and got nothing. So that was going so long and just not so exciting. Drunken tweets, nice. I like it.
Drunk tweets, it makes the day go round.
Yeah. But while we're wrapping up, anything else? Any questions, concerns, comments, or otherwise awesome things to say from chat? And you guys got anything? Or Mokog, do you have any closing remarks or statements?
Well, while I have Fento's attention, I want to be able to zoom into our new arena here pretty soon. I don't want to necessarily play first. You don't have to give that to me. Let me look at all our pretty skyboxes. I'm just saying, just let me look. You know, do it as like a beta test of getting into spaces. I think.
Were you saying
awesome.
You were saying that the arena should be represented on the planet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I mean, we've got the beautiful planet. It's here for campaign mode. You know, if we're going to get our first PvE experience, I want to be able to jump into my campaign mode, come near this, you know, volcano up here near the top, watch my little moon have hex go around, and be like, I can go in now. Click, click.
So I've got something totally not related at all to what you're saying, but almost related a little bit. Well, it's related to what you're saying and not related to Hex in any way.
Gotcha.
What we need is a little mini game that's Missile Defender or whatever the name of that old arcade game is, and it's got the Hex planet, and you shoot the missiles off trying to stop the asteroids from hitting it. Like that feels pretty on point with this. Is, you know, you're trying to stop. I don't know. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, because the asteroid hit Hex, and that's how, or Hex is the asteroid. It hit Entrath, and that's how it all started. Is you're just trying to stop more Hex meteors from hitting. I think that sounds like a fun mini game. And there go motorcycles.
Yay, motorcycles! Alright, everyone, thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us today. Congrats on getting the sleeves. We're going to be getting those out, or the card. The card. Got to make sure I do it right. The card will be, the code for that will be sent out to you here in just a few moments after we wrap up. Y'all, thanks for hanging out with us today. I mean, we had a lot of great people in, a lot of good stuff. The shard system's working, thank God. Maybe one day I'll get mini games involved. Now be sure that y'all, Function and I will both be streaming as well as doing videos for the challenge. We'll be starting off either tonight or tomorrow, most likely tomorrow. One or both of us will be starting off. We'll be going through, you know, the starting experience. They're going to be loaded up with 1,000 platinum, and we're going to run and go. Everything's going to be recorded, and we're going to make this work.
Yeah, thanks for everybody tuning in. Definitely, as we're doing this challenge, feel free to either post on the forum fan site thread that we started for this, just even if you have comments on whether you're enjoying it or whether you have stuff to say. I would say try not to be too critical, because sometimes it's hard to stay motivated doing all this content and stuff, and you spend a lot of time on it, and then it sucks to have somebody say it only takes them a second to say mean things about it, and took you hours upon hours to put it all together. But that's not what I was going to talk about. I was going to say make sure you're following us both on Twitter, because chances are we're probably going to be talking on Twitter a little bit, making posts here and there as we progress through this, and as we're about to stream or post a new video on YouTube. So stay tuned on there. Finally, we were like some of the very first people to start doing YouTube for Hex, and since then we kind of, me much more so than you, have not been posting much. You've been doing your awesome economic videos though, so anybody who's interested in economic stuff, check out Mokog's channel, because he's got some very in-depth information to share with you guys. And
you flattered me, and I thank you for it.
So anyhow, yeah, thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. Stay tuned for next week when we're doing General Stent. I'm sure we'll have some fun stuff to talk about as far as how this challenge is going so far.
All right, everyone, have a great one.
Good night.